So I just spent about 23 hours in a movie theater watching every single Star Wars from Episode 1 to Episode 7. And my God, that was an adventure. And it also really highlighted some of the major differences that J.J. Abrams' Star Wars is going to bring. Like, no spoilers here, and by the way, I'm going to have comments turned off just so nobody's going to be posting spoilers in there, so you don't need to worry about that. I'll turn them on eventually, like after a couple of weeks when anybody who really, really cares is already seen it. But holy shit, The Force Awakens is basically the complete opposite of the prequels. And that's both for better and for worse. And I'll get to why that's a thing. I'm going to get this out of the way real quick. I loved it. I loved The Force Awakens. It was amazing, and I'm probably going to see it 2 or 3 more times this week alone. And I'm probably going to see it more times after that in the theaters still. But you know me, I'm kind of balls deep in Star Wars as is. Now, what do I mean for better and for worse? Well, this, or at least The Force Awakens so far, I can't say this trilogy because I don't know how the other 2 are going to go, and that's a new feeling. But it does a really good job of show don't tell. Whereas the prequels were shoving exposition in your face over and over and over. Like every single scene had something expository shoved into the dialogue just to keep something moving. Force Awakens doesn't necessarily have that. It has some exposition here and there, but it doesn't feel really shoehorned in. And unfortunately, there is some stuff that you kind of want exposited upon that just isn't. Like, there are quite a few things that just go completely unexplained and you're just supposed to accept it. And I can dig that, because I'm an expanded universe nut and I can't wait for the shit to be explained, which it inevitably will, and expanded upon. But I'm sitting in this world right now of I have no idea how half of this shit happened. And it's kind of blowing my mind. But I'll get to I'll expand a little bit more on that, probably in a separate video, which will contain spoilers. This one I'm going completely spoiler-free. Like, I'm going to be as spoiler-free as possible with why I love this movie and the varying things that I dislike about it. There are a few things I dislike about it. It's not a perfect movie. But, oh my God, just everything felt so right, you know? And again, I'm sorry if I kind of like drift off here and there, because I have just been up for probably the better part of 30 hours now. And you'll notice I'm wearing the same exact shirt I was wearing in my last video, which was posted yesterday, because I just recorded that yesterday, and I then went and I then edited it, and then went straight to the movies and watched through all of I slept through Episode 1 and most of Episode 2, so, you know. I got a little bit of Z's in there through the less than stellar movies. But regardless, I am still tired as hell. But I still wanted to put my words to screen, I guess, not paper. The pacing was great. Every action sequence felt necessary. It didn't feel shoehorned in. And, actually, no, I'll say one thing. The pacing, it suffered a little because it felt like the movie wanted to be a little bit longer to expand on a few things that the people were going to do, but it really wanted to fit in all the stuff that it wanted to fit in. You know what I mean? Like, there are some things that just kind of like, okay, we're doing this now because we have to, because this thing is happening and it should not be happening and we got to go stop it. And they throw it together really quick, but the scenes that lead into it and the scenes that revolve around it are really good. Like, everything feels great, and there was actually a bit of a system shock to me, because I'm watching this movie and something, like, for the longest time, something felt off, and I realized I had gotten so used to the way George Lucas wrote these characters and wrote people's dialogue that when people in Star Wars actually, sort of talk like humans, it didn't add up to me. So it's pretty much everything I love about Star Wars, but with better dialogue and better character interactions, if that makes sense. Like, people act like people in a certain regard. Whereas in the prequel trilogy, everybody was... George Lucas doesn't know how to human. He doesn't. He doesn't understand human. He understands special effects and he understands how to put those special effects to screen, but he doesn't know how to human. Everything was beautifully shot and beautifully framed. There was never a scene that happened that I was like, wait, what the hell's going on? Everything felt clear and concise, and I never got lost. And all of the practical effects that were used really shined through in this. Oh my god, it is a beautiful, gorgeous movie. And as I stated earlier, it does a really good job of show, don't tell. Or at least I think I said this earlier. I said it to somebody earlier. I'm hoping it's the camera, but tired. You see, where George Lucas would probably have somebody, explain, something that's happening on screen, or something that happened off screen while they're sitting in a room. J.J. Abrams actually, shows it, and it makes sense. Like, the way the characters react to a certain situation, and you feel it, even though they aren't saying what they're thinking, you kind of feel what's going on. You get a real good feel for the characters, and it does a really good job of doing a whole lot of world building, especially considering so much has changed. Like, not going into any spoilers here, but oh my god, this is a very, very different world. Like, when you hear that it's a very different trilogy, it's a different trilogy. This is not the Galactic Empire as you knew it, and they don't even call themselves the Galactic Empire anymore. So, I don't know. They still call the soldiers stormtroopers, and I actually kind of like the redesign. I like the new helmets and stuff. They look cool, they look sleek. But yeah, the First Order is not the Galactic Empire, despite the fact that they're still that same sort of Nazi SS sort of regime. It's got a very different feel. Like, they're actually very intimidating, and these aren't your dad's stormtroopers. These guys, first of all, they can actually hit a damn target. Second of all, they're actually pretty menacing, like the way they operate and the way they look, the way they move. And my god, the introduction of Kylo Ren, my jaw fucking dropped in this movie. Like, the way they show how he uses the Force, like, in his initial scene, I was just like, fuck, Like, when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. You see shit that you haven't really seen before, or, like, the way the Force is utilized before. And that's not really a spoiler. Like, it's just, damn. Also, the lightsaber fighting in this, we're back to, like, a much more visceral, emotional sort of lightsaber combat rather than the highly choreographed, I'm not actually going to hit you with this swing, but block it anyway, sort of thing from the prequels, which while flashy and looked really cool, amounted to a lot of fluff. Which is basically what I mean when I say it's a very different trilogy. Now, I'm the kind of guy that can actually go into the prequels and enjoy a lot of it, because I'm a Star Wars slut, I guess. I don't know. But this is so, like, it feels like it doesn't even belong in the same genre, is how different it is from the prequels. Like, there's just... everything, like, is so visceral, almost. Like, it feels so real, and that's because there's a lot of... a part of it's due to the fact that there's a lot of practice, like, a lot of it, hell, almost all of it was shot with practical effects in mind. It was shot on location. It just feels like a very lived-in world, and almost to, like, the extent where I'm very happy that J.J. Abrams decided to make this take place so far in the future and on planets that we haven't even, visited yet in the old movies. Because, you could have it set on Tatooine and Coruscant and all this other stuff, but to have these new locations, it just, like, it really feels like it's adding to the Star Wars canon rather than just being a story set in the world of Star Wars. But on the other end of that, since there's so much unfamiliar stuff going on, it's almost kind of it's almost kind of a system shock when you're, like, watching this as a Star Wars movie, and there's so many new things being thrown at you right away. Then again, I suppose this is how a lot of people felt back when Episode 1 came out. Except, Episode 1 was George Lucas's stilted-ass dialogue with, "Yippee!" and "Let's try spinning." That's a cool trick. But this feels like it was geared much more towards an older audience. Whereas Episode 1 was geared, oddly enough, despite the fact that it was talking a lot about trade disputes and shit, it felt like it was geared towards kids. This was a Star Wars movie made with the Star Wars fan in mind, I feel. And it shows a lot. But at the same time, it's trying to be its own thing and build its own continuity, which I can also respect, but at the same time, it makes you feel almost a little homesick, if that makes sense. And now I'll go into, like, a couple of the things that kind of irked me about the movie. One of the characters that's discovered to be Force sensitive, you knew there was going to be one. I don't consider that a spoiler. Shut up. One of the characters that was discovered to be Force sensitive in the movie, like, newly discovered, like, just figures out they have the Force, they suddenly become kind of a savant in it, to the extent that it's like, where the fuck did they learn all of this? And it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Now this will probably get expanded upon in the next movie, hell, I hope it certainly gets expanded upon within the next couple of movies. But just the way they are introduced to the Force and the way they are almost instantly just, like, amazing at it is kind of out of nowhere. And it feels really rushed in a sort of way where it's just like, oh, by the way, I'm now an amazing Force badass. Whereas, Kylo Ren's Force the way he uses the Force makes sense because you learn, a little bit about his, well, actually, you kind of learn a lot about his backstory. So, yeah. Kylo Ren is awesome, and he's just this, like, amazing Force beast. But then this other character comes in who's just new to the Force, and all of a sudden they're just amazing. Like, they're like God tier, like studying it for years, I can do this shit, don't test me kind of Force user. And I'm wondering how that's going to play into the next couple of movies, and I'm really looking forward to learning about this shit in the expanded universe with, you know, novels and whatever other supplementary material they might add later on. Another thing that kind of irked me, and again, this kind of goes with almost anything that's like, you know, the beginning of a blank part series, is I'm left with so many questions, and I know I have to wait so long to get them answered. Like, they introduce so many concepts and so many things all at once in this movie that I'm left wondering, you know, like, where did this come from? What's up with that? You know, all these sorts of things that I can't really talk about because spoilers. But it left me with a lot of questions. But needless to say, it was still a great watch, a great adventure. Everything, like I said, it's kind of a paradox where everything felt really well-paced, but certain parts felt kind of rushed and pushed really quickly because they wanted to get a big climax in. Overall, I still fucking loved it. As a Star Wars fan, I loved it. And I'm sure there are going to be some people that dislike it. I know there's going to be a lot of cynics out there. But I don't know, man. This feels like the beginning of something beautiful, and I look forward to what comes next. Sorry about that. Camera just ran out of batteries. Anyway, I'll end this by saying, you know, if you want to check out some more videos I made, I did just do like a quick video talking about like why I don't necessarily think the Sith are evil. I'll put it right there. And I'll link, you know, another random Star Wars video, probably from TFS Gaming over here. Yeah, right here. And if you want to subscribe, click on my face. And in the comments below, type nothing because they're disabled for a couple of weeks. But, yeah, so, you know, no spoilers. Hope you guys have a good one. I hope you enjoy the movie. And may the Force be with you.